Welcome. Today is Wednesday, the 28th of April, the year 2021. I am Erelu Tuashe. Welcome to Agbakunitoni Odua. It simply is a prayer. May elders never cease to exist in Odua land. Ashe. I'm delighted to see out there, as usual, many of you there to join this program and listen and hopefully forward your comments either to my phone or to the platform of Liberty Media Communications. Today we gathered to consider an important matter. As you all know, the program operates like a code. It's called a theme. Project Nigeria is a marriage of inconvenience, yes or no? I'm hoping that my guest speakers of honor will be able to help us to decide. However, the topic itself has a different dimension to the norm, and the topic says marriage, relationships, democracy, good governance, and the future of Nigeria. In a moment, I will bring in my keynote guest speaker of honor. But let me thank those of you who are in the Zoom area. Thank you for joining me. I'm afraid you cannot, if you happen to have come with a guest, you cannot ask questions during the session. When it's time to do so, I shall let you know. Without further ado, let me remind my guest speakers of today that I would expect once I call you, please introduce yourself as detailed as you possibly want to. I have very little information about you for the purpose of the flyer. So let me go straight on to Comrade Baba I. I hope I have pronounced the name well. He's the keynote guest speaker of honor. You have 20 minutes to address the topic for today. If you wish to extend, please indicate. I'm very strict with time. May I ask everybody to please mute themselves? Please mute yourself. I beg of you, mute yourself. Thank you. Comrade Baba I is a co-convener for Coalition for Revolution, or CORE, a trade unionist and a health policy expert. A very warm welcome to you, Comrade Baba I. Over to you. You have 20 minutes. Please introduce yourself if you want to add any more information.
Thank you all very much. It's a pleasure to be here. My full name is Babatunde Adebola Omotoyinbo Mayelabola. But right from my student days, I'm always called Baba Aye. Well, my background, I was a student leader during the anti-SAP and into the June 12 period. And subsequent to that, I work as a trade unionist, and I also served as Deputy National Secretary of the Labour Party for a decade. I currently work with the Global Trade Union Federation in Geneva as the Health and Social Services expert, and I'm also co-president of the Geneva Global Health Hub. To the issue of discourse, I think it's a very important topic and a very creative one for several reasons. Because one, it is an analogy, between marriage and, of course, our country has put, but it also throws into perspective the 50 shades of a marriage, the possibilities of marriages of convenience, marriages of love, marriages of inconvenience, So for me, I mean that tickled my thinking that, well, this says a lot in a few words, and I think it, in the sense when you look at it, not even only Nigeria, you look at globally how when you talk of multinational states, and well over 90% of countries are multinational states. In what way are do they cohabit? Do the nationalities in this cohabit? Uh, Even in Britain, you've had Scottish nationalism, and which is rearing its head again in the wake of Brexit. We all used to know Czechoslovakia, which is now Czech and Slovakia. And I remember there was this French intellectual, Regis Debray, who wrote in a journal of on the left in Europe sometime back. That was in the 70s, where he pointed out that look, this seeming quietness about issues of nationalism will be the undoing of any progressive project in Europe at the time. My view on this is it's I wouldn't say that it is necessarily first. Let's look at this. When you talk of inconvenience, marriage of inconvenience, when you talk of marriage of inconvenience, where and when you now have things like gender-based violence, using marriage in the sense before you looking at the analogy. For me, it is a no-no. There's no perfect marriage. There will be ups and downs in any marriage. But I mean, and this is something I've told even my flesh and blood before. But the moment your partner raises your hand against you, uh, you can even say, ordinarily, you raise it, you say, maybe mistake. He raises it again. It now becomes habitual. And before you know what is happening, you have a mental set of the abused and the abuser. That if you don't address it and work out while you can still have your life, you might. It is underreported, but many people have been killed in abusive marriages. I actually started writing a novel about that years back when a colleague of mine, she lectures at UI now, and at the time she was the women leader of the Nigerian Labour Congress for your state. When we had to have a meeting, now we couldn't have the meeting because she lost her best friend, and the best friend had been beaten to death by the husband in front of their kids, 13, 9, and 4. And I was shocked that she told me that it's not as uncommon as you thought. So I now started, and you see, there are things that when you don't look for, you don't really appreciate the gravity of it. It's a serious and underreported, situation back home and even beyond back home. So when you talk of a marriage of inconvenience, one form of this is that it is an abusive marriage. Inconvenience could come in several forms as well. Now, taking this analogy now to the issue of Nigeria, be it hail or hate or what have you, Nigeria, we know this. It's something to look at. Where are we? How did we get to where we are? And how can this marriage be addressed? Can it be made to continue? If so, on what basis? Is dissolution necessary? If so, what comes after that? And then there's another very important category in the title of this discussion session today, which is democracy. How does democracy relate to all this? How do we carry forth the democratization project? And for me, I'm not a fan of Ahmadu Bello, but I I picked something in this. It's an anecdotal is anecdotal about him and Nnamdi Azikiwe. When Zik was reported to have said, "Let us forget our differences," and Sardauna said, "No, let us understand our differences." Because understanding is the point of departure. If you say you forget, somebody once said that Nigerians have a problem. Often people say forgive and forget. Say Nigerians find it easier to forget than to forgive instead of the other way around. But it's not about forgetting. We have to understand, because let us face the fact there will always be differences. There will always be differences, no matter how we then, for example, if we were to have an Odua Republic, let's you see, they say our elders said that, when the somebody waju tagba bashuwa way, is because to learn from what has happened. In the Nigerian youth movement, people forget that the later Oba Kisoya, it was the non-Yorubas that stood behind him in Nigerian youth movement, whilst most of the other Yorubas supported Ernest Ikoli. And underlining that, there were also a lot of not feeling comfort. Even within the older Femi Ferry, there were some that spoke of the Jebu Mafia, of Baba Awu, Abraham Adesanya and Co. There are some that allege that Ajashi was partly marginalized within the scheme of things for some time, within that, because of coming from an outlier, this thing. I've had in our days in Unilag, when some describe some of us from Ekiti as báwo ni bàbá yìí ṣe sọ gbà ara ìlú Okean, àwọn ará ìlú Òkè, ara ìlú Okean. I'll never forget that phrase. So there will always be contentions. Every marriage, even within a monolingual this thing, there will still be that. So point of departure, understanding, very critical. Now, to the issue of Nigeria and the questions that I asked. I believe that it is quite possible to go ahead with a united Nigeria, but not the way it is. There will need to be major restructuring, devolution of powers, and democratization in truth and in deed. What we have now is an approximation of formal democratization. Why do I mean by that? You have National Assembly, but is that democracy? Democracy is about, to what extent does what the people say have any bearing on what any of them does in any of the bodies? So that is that. Now, talking about the processes leading to that, then within Yoruba land in particular, of concern for us and for me, the issue is, how do the different, down to local government, down to what, but as well, even within the different, you talk of the Ekiti, you talk of India, because one important aspect of culture, of a nationality, is language. How do we foster, and with language also, is when we look at Yoruba now, the Yoruba language itself has evolved in several ways. As the Ẹgbẹ́ Olùkọ́ and Akẹ́kọ̀ọ́ Èdè Àtàṣà Yorùbá would say, there are a number of things that have changed, lexicon, syntax, all this kind of thing. So how do we ensure that even in the educational, it's part of the issues of the restructuring, the issue of language, the issue of but also material things like social services, because often people look at the period of Awolowo as I would say it was the glorious era, not only for Yoruba, but even for Nigeria. That was when the first television station in Africa was brought to Nigeria. That was when you had Cocoa House, you had universal primary education, and so on and so forth. Why am I going to there? Is that it was not just that Awo was stressing cultural issues, which were also very dear to that government, particularly through its it's the governor um, of the region. That's Oba Adesoji Aderemi. The culture was given importance, but social services. You did not have to be rich to send your children to decent schools. A lot of the people that became someone like even what's his name again, our MQ Abiola, I said it. I mean, if not, even though he later turned his Concord to Discord, he pointed it out then that look, if not for the Awolowo's, how would he have become an accountant? So these are things that we must, because the people want to, when the people are fighting for what will make their lives better. If we win a Yoruba and Odua Republic and the people's lives are still not better, you will see that it will leave room for people to also still raise other lines of division to fight around. So the issue of materially improving the lives of the people must be a central element of what is. I mean, it's just like when you talk of the marriage you're talking of. Part of what a fruitful marriage is all about is also about helping your partner to find, understand, and fulfill the height of his or her potentialities. That's why I say invest in your wife because it's important, it's fundamental. Otherwise, and vice versa in different ways. So these are important aspects that I think that in going forward, in looking at the issues at stake, we need, to put at the front burner of what we want, how to write this marriage. But all this having been said, because the thing also is this: marriage is a two-way thing. It might be useful to try to change your partner's ways and manner, but are there limits to which you realize that he or she might not be changeable? In the Nigerian context, much as some of us would not just want a general, as I put it, fulanization of the problem, only a blind or deaf person would deny the fact that there is a dimension of hegemony in what we are seeing. And part of what even makes this most sharply felt is that we have, if I be Movima should describe it, the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria now, he is the most nepotistic of all heads of state we have ever had. He's and Kote Fibo. You can remember even when he was saying that how can I, some people voted 5% for him. There are some things to do, even if he is a young man, which he is not. Having become the president of the Federal Republic, there are some things that should not come out from his mouth. But they say, out of the fullness of the heart, does what come out of the mouth? So we have that problem. But how do we engage the matter in a strategic manner? because part of the problems also is that they have greater control of the army and on the military and all that. Outright secession, bloodshed in which it is the poor people that will bear this thing. I think that a way in this regard would be.
Wow. We seems to have lost him for a moment, I think. Must be a disconnection from somewhere. We'll wait for a little while and see if we can get him back. If you've just joined me, a very warm welcome to you. Are you back with us? Baba,
Yes,
are you back? Thank you.
Yes.
5 more minutes for you.
Yes, I was checking the time too. So a major thing could be to now also build alliances with other forces within the broad north. And in this way too, we'll be following, drawing lessons from the era of the Action Group, which had strong ties with bodies like the United Middle Belt Congress, UMBC of Taka, the Zamfara People's Party, and then the Borno Youth Movement. So where are those? It might not be exactly the same, but what I'm trying to say is, in the current situation, I look at bodies like the Southern Kaduna People's Union, SOKAPU, bodies in the TV land and things like that. We need to build alliances to be able to change the overarching context within which we fight for a better marriage, if we will still maintain the marriage. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Wonderful. What a very good start. If you've just joined me, yes, you're on Agbakoni Tonile Udua. Well, we are told relationship fails because one person feels more superior than the other. Well, the matter before the court of Agbakoni Tonile Udua today is simple. Simple? Yes. Project Nigeria is a marriage of inconvenience, yes or no? Permit me to bring in my Nigerian-based guest speakers, because you know what light is like. So let me go straight on to Alagba Wale Ojo Lanre, Senior Specialist Assistant to the Governor of Ekiti State on Tourism Development, Ekiti State, Nigeria. So we're delighted to welcome, on behalf, shall I say, our Governor Fayemi, one of his right-hand men. A warm welcome to you. Please, you may extend the introduction, because there's something about you I didn't say, a journalist. Over to you. Welcome.
Just to everybody on the panel and everybody watching us. I'm bringing goodwill from Ekiti State, a state where we have knowledge and wisdom. Because those are the two, Alara Lologbon, Ajero Lonimo. And méjèèjì yẹn, they are in Ekiti State, Alara àti Ajero. One is about wisdom, one is about knowledge. So I bring you good news and greeting from Ekiti. Airelu Ekpefuwa Eshe. My name is Ambassador Wale Ojo Lanre. I'm a journalist with culture and tourism. I'm a lawyer. I'm an arbitrator. I have a master in peace and conflict studies. And through this, I've been chairman of the Nigerian Union of Journalists in Oyo State for 6 years. The first to be elected or unopposed for the second term. I've been the chief press secretary to the governor of Ekiti State before. Before Governor Fayemi picked me to be his SSA Tourism Development and Culture. This program is very, very suitable for this period, and its lineups are very spectacular. And as a peace and conflict student, I'm going to maintain a win-win situation in this matter. I'll be raising posters according to the title and the concept. We are talking about marriage, relationship, democracy, good governance, and future of Nigeria. I want us to understand, and I'm going to pick it from the concept of marriage. What is marriage? Marriage is the union of two. We have different type of marriages. One, we have a contractual marriage on contract, and we have a mutual marriage where two people love each other and they embrace. They sign to become one, to trust each other, to love each other, to respect each other, to forgive each other. That is a marriage on trust, mutual relationship. The other one is contractual. It's a contract. Well, we are going to marry you because you have money, so that you can use your money to either influence mine, or I'm going to marry you for 6 months, 10 months, 3 years for companionship. But let us talk, which kind of marriage are we in Nigeria as a sector, as an entity? We should realize that pre-colonial period, Nigeria was nothing like Nigeria. We have feudalist kingdom, we have a republican democracy, we have city-state, we have city-states, and we have other entities that existed with their sovereignty, independence, and the way they do things. It was the coming of the colonial people, the colonialists, that now subject all these potential nations into what we call Southern and Northern Protectorate first. Then came the amalgamation. Are we thinking about marriage in those things? I want us to go along with me. I'll be using the marriage. We have a good marriage, we have a forced marriage, we have a contractual marriage in this contraction called Nigeria. Number one, we were Southern and Northern Protectorate, then amalgamated together. Was it contractual? Was it mutual? Was it of free will? All right. After this, either contractual, free will, or force, we jointly lost our federal protector. We have federal kingdom, city-states, Oyo Empire, all these important empire in Nigeria, and all these Robo, Isekiri, Timland, Idoma land, they lost their entities under one Nigeria. We agreed. And this push us to fight commonly. The first start we have was to be British citizens as colonials. We are British. We are no longer Yoruba. We are no longer Igbos. We are no longer. That is what they indoctrinated into us. So we fought together because we realized this. We fought together for what? For the independence. So you can see, even apart from after independence, we agreed either force, contractual, mutual, we were going together. We fought the colonials, we got independence, and we were on a delicate marriage. And there was semblance of respect, particularly in the First Republic, where each regions were able to develop at their own space. There was mutual regard during those periods under the three regions, where when we have the Oodua conglomerate, the northern states started their own, the northern and the east. There was a kind of relationship. We respect ourselves, we respect each other. We were able to draw ourselves in what we call cannot be contractual marriage of inconveniences. We agreed. And during this period, remember, we went through the Civil War. Despite the fact that it was marriage of inconveniences, two regions fought the Budu war, telling the third one that no, we want to be together. After that, do we have respect for ourselves? Do we compromise? Is one region lording it over the other in this marriage? Because marriage should be of mutual benefit. Understand the rights, giving each of them equal right and dignity. Do we have, are we expressing the dignity now? Do we have the mutual respect that the relationship asks us? Do we have compromise? These are the other that call us to question the marriage, either inconvenience marriage, contractual marriage or not. Let us talk about relationship. What is relationship? You form a relationship based on mutual interest. You form a relationship based on mutual interest. I love you. Mutual regard for each other. Do we have mutual regard for each other? I'm talking about all the politics, all the ethnic group, all the empire that form Nigeria that were coerced. They coerced us to form a relationship. But apart from that, do we have mutual respect for each other? Because relationship is about respecting other person, giving him love or her love, and serving him properly what he deserves as an entity. Do we have those things? I want you also to note all those. It now comes to democracy. What is democracy? In this kind of forced marriage or contractual marriage or mutual marriage, democracy, they call it government of the people by the people. That is the raw definition of democracy. Democracy is stressing on one, people participation in their governing, people majority. One, the right of majority must have superior, but we have to respect that of minority. Is it being done in this kind of marriage? If majority has their way, does the minority has their voice? These are questions we have to, when it comes to democracy and marriage, these are questions we have to ask about. And under the democracy, individual rights, is there any guarantee for the expression of individual rights? The rule of law does still reign under the marriage, either convenience, inconvenience marriage, either contractual or mutual. Does democracy echo raise this? We are talking about good governance. Good governance, what is the meaning of good governance? Good governance ensures the institution, democracy institutions set on the ground, are they working toward the expression of all in the marriage, or the institution working toward the expression of a single entity or ethnic crime or some crime? Because we are in a marriage. It is about marriage. So if good governance is not working, what can we do for good governance to reign in the marriage? These are questions we must ask ourselves. Then the future of Nigeria. I agree with Baba. There is no marriage that is perfect. But when marriages are not perfect, do we have the latitude? Do you have the altitude? Do you have the posture of reinforcing this marriage to survive so that we cannot become people in Somalia, we cannot become a country like Yugoslavia and co. This is my submission. Thank you very much. God bless.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Wonderful. Very well dealt with. Wow. I'm so proud of you. I'm not from Ekiti, but you can adopt me now.
But you need to come to Ekiti. There are many reasons why you have to come to Ekiti.
Incidentally, I'm also from Ekiti. I'm from Uyi Ekiti.
Oh yeah, you are from Oye?
Uyi.
Uyi. Look, Baba, God bless you. It is Uyi. the only place in the world where there is a rock that has an amphitheater that can contain 250 people
Man.
inside a rock in Ekiti. Abari Agbeo, Otari. Then Elu,
Yes.
Obo, Oye, they are from Ekiti. The source of Osun River is from Ikede Ekiti. Ogun descended to the ground in Ekiti State, Ire Ekiti.
Chairman,
Sorry.
I'm going to be asking to pay me 10. No, I'm going to be asking for 12 and more. Let me go straight to my next speaker. Thank you so much indeed. Like me, very passionate about who we are. So let me go straight on to my next speaker. This young lady, I'm so proud of her. The very first time I came across her, she told me, born in United Kingdom, grew up in the United Kingdom. She just took her back and went to live in Nigeria. I said, you? Mother is not there, father is not there. Let me say no more. Permit me to welcome a good example of British-born Yoruba young woman, Torera Olaya. Torera, welcome. Please introduce yourself and say a little bit more if you wish to, and address the topic for today. Over to you. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Auntie. Good evening, everybody watching in the UK and in Nigeria, and I guess good morning to anybody watching in New York. My name is Torera Olaya, aka Tora. That's what everybody calls me. I'm an entrepreneur, creative broadcast specialist, and I'm also an on-air personality. I have 10 years experience navigating the entertainment and media industry, both in the UK and in Nigeria. And I founded my media consulting agency, which is called TOM Consulting, to help brands, businesses, and talent alike to develop meaningful strategies to be able to connect with their target audience, not just in Nigeria, but also in Africa and beyond. And when I'm not working in media and entertainment, I'm very passionate about self-love and confidence, particularly in women. So it's something you find me talking about a lot if you come across any of my social media handles or anything like that. So first of all, I'd like to thank our Honorable Erelu Tuwashe of Oderemo for this initiative. I think it's a very great way to bridge the gap between the older generation and the younger generation, which I think is really important when you think about where you're going and where we're going in the future, which is one of the questions, the future of Nigeria. I'll also like to thank her for the invite as well, to be a part of such a very important topic and discussion among some very distinguished guests. Is really an honor and a privilege, especially as somebody who has helped host one of these events before. I believe I'm probably one of the youngest people on the panel, so it really is a blessing to hear everybody's contribution and their experience today as well. So I would like to start off with just recollecting when I got this invitation to be a guest speaker. It's quite poignant for me because I remember looking at the invite and looking at my phone and thinking, oh, wow, that's great. That's amazing. I'd love to do that. And then I remember seeing the topic, okay, marriage, relationships, good governance, the future of Nigeria. And to be honest with you, I almost declined because I'm not married. So I was like, well, what would I talk about? I felt very inexperienced, especially when you look at the speaking panel as well. I was thinking, what would I say? But then I really had to dig deep about my experiences in relationships, not just what I have experienced personally, but also what I've observed around me, from the people around me, from my parents, my friends and families, their parents. You know, we're all learning, so we obviously experience things. So in my humble opinion, marriage is a scam. I am actually joking. I really don't believe marriage is a scam, because I haven't experienced marriage for myself, so I can't say that. But it's something that you hear a lot of people say. And please, all the married people out there, if you're married, stop telling unmarried people it's a scam. It really does scare us. But what I would say is there is a huge disparity between the cultural context of what marriage means in Nigeria and the societal morals of modern day marriages and Western marriages, so to speak, particularly for Nigerians in the diaspora. And that's, you know, that's the viewpoint that I'm speaking from. I'm speaking from the viewpoint of somebody who was born and raised in the UK, but has also lived and worked in Nigeria. So essentially, I've had the blessing of experiencing both worlds. So one of the examples that I'm going to use for this disparity is the act of polygamy. So in the UK, polygamy is a crime. We know it's whereas in the Nigerian civil law, there are 12 out of 36 Nigerian states who recognize polygamy or polygamous marriages as being equivalent to monogamous marriages. Needless to say, all of those 12 states are governed by Sharia law, but that's besides the point, because I believe polygamy is something that's been practiced well before religion. And I'm not here to say whether it's something that's wrong or whether it's right. I would just like to highlight the psychological and emotional ramifications that it has on somebody such as myself, or people who are raised in the diaspora, particularly in a territory like the UK that says, well, it's a crime, which essentially is wrong. That leads to a constant battle and conflict between what we learn inherently from our parents and our African culture and our African roots, and, you know, our Western ideologies of what we believe marriage should be, or you know, what we've told marriage should be. So if you don't mind, I would like to talk about, you know, some of my personal experiences and relate it back to the topic. I personally grew up witnessing a polygamous marriage between my parents. At the time, I had no idea that's what it was, because nobody actually sat down and told me, okay, this is what it is. And I probably didn't know what polygamy was until my late teens, early 20s. But I had a good love for English language, and it was probably something that I came across, a word that I learned quite early on. But how did I know that, you know, my parents were in this type of union, seeing as it wasn't something that they taught me? Well, as a child, you do learn from observation. And if the people you observe do not educate you about their actions, you end up banking on an experience that's really based on your infantile knowledge. It's really you know, you have lack of knowledge of what's going on. You just experience it and feel it. But back to my parents, I don't think it was a polygamous relationship because my mother agreed. It was a polygamous relationship by virtue of my father and his actions. And as I grew up, you know, absorbing and learning the gamut of their relationship, I realized something. I realized this wasn't an uncommon thing, especially as when I started going to school and integrating and socializing with more Nigerian children. I would meet their parents, and I realized I could identify similarities in their parents' relationships, i.e., daddy lived and worked in Nigeria, or they had more than one half brother or sister, which I have. And I don't believe in half brothers and sisters and siblings, by the way. I think if you're born, whether you're born by one parent or both parents, you're still siblings. So I don't believe in all that whole half sisters and brothers stuff. But back to the matter, the point is my first experience of relationships was with seeing my parents. And that's like anyone. Your first experience really is going to be what you see at home. And sometimes that can lead to a dysfunctional understanding of what marriage should be as an adult. And it wasn't just from their relationship. I also learned from the world around me. I learned from school, what your friends tell you. And as we grew older and time grew on, the internet became really popular. And I learned a lot of that, like a lot of people, without any sort of guidance, really, so to speak. So some of the examples of things you learn about a divorce, you know, I would just see people's or my friends, their parents would be getting divorced, which I never understood at a young age. I couldn't understand how people would get married and, oh, then they get divorced. Sexual health and reproduction, consent, all these things were things that I was aware of and exposed to at an early age, but nobody actually sat down to explain the nuances of these things. So I like to take my thoughts to an article that I read in Vanguard. And that article, it said that just 0.2% of men and 0.3% of women legally, they admit to, of women, they legally untie the knot. So, and they also say that according to the National Bureau of Statistics, under 1% of couples actually admit to being separated. So when you look at those statistics, by all accounts, Nigeria is a place where divorce is actually uncommon, but it doesn't, you know, exempt the fact that these things are happening. In fact, it kind of does support the notion that it's probably not talked about very much, maybe because of our, you know, our culture is still considered as a taboo. There are a lot of couples who are living who are separated and living separate lives. And then you also have traditional marriage as well, which facilitates polygamy. Again, I'm not saying it's wrong or it's right. What I would like to consider is the effect that it has on children. So my focus is, you know, these children now become products of these relations, some of them with underlying and other things that come along with it as well. Maybe not a great understanding of what relationships and marriage should be. So what's my point in all of this? Why am I saying this? Why am I talking about my experiences and some of the statistics that we see? I think it's important for us to, first of all, educate our children about the fundamentals of marriage as early as we can, because children are not stupid, they're not dumb, especially now. You know, they're born in the digital era, so they're considered as digital natives. They have a lot of access to information. some of that might be misinformation as well. So it's very important to teach our children as early as we can, as we see fit, not just in the context of Nigerian culture, but also in the context of other cultures as well. It's really important. And let's also teach our children about the fundamentals of sex and relationships. This is something that, you know, is very much still considered a taboo in many African cultures, particularly in Nigeria. Sex education isn't taught in schools. So I'm wondering where our young children are learning these things from. And also as well, I think we need to not let them learn it from the internet and from schools and from TV and from their friends. Let them learn it from the people that they trust and look up to the most, which is their parents. And most importantly, I think it's important to educate our children about our own personal actions. Why? Because it shows, you know, accountability. We want them to grow up to be accountable for their actions as adults. So I think it's important that we lead by example and show them accountability in our own lives. And I think that really does tie into the state of our country in terms of the topic of good governance. Nigeria is a country that really struggles with the concept of good governance, and I think we have done for many decades. And in my opinion, some of that is due to the lack of transparency and accountability within our political system. You see a lot of this. So I mean, when I first started coming to Nigeria 5 years ago, you know, I would hear stories upon stories, especially working in the media, about, you know, funds being embezzled by politicians and them not being held accountable. You hear stories of snakes and animals eating billions of naira, just different absurd things that you hear. And, you know, there's a lack of of accountability. There's a lack of people having fear towards their actions. So I personally wouldn't necessarily sit here and bash Nigerian government and Nigerian politics. There are good people in politics. And the truth is everyone has the capacity, I think, to be dishonest. We're human beings. So everybody has that capacity, particularly in a position of power. But the problem is, you know, we have a constitution that doesn't necessarily invoke consequences to people that behave badly. So I really look forward to, you know, seeing a country where people in power sincerely do care about the people that they govern. And, you know, they do have a fear, let's say, of misappropriating funds and things that are really meant for the people. Where does the future of Nigeria stand? I'm very, very optimistic. One, I live and work in Nigeria, so I have to be optimistic. But even if I didn't, you know, live or work here, this is my country. This is where my ancestors are from. This is where my parents are from. So I will always be optimistic. I personally find solace and comfort in the fact that nothing lasts forever. The universe is in a constant state of eon flux, which means that things will change. And I believe that things will change for the better, especially as we start adapting to technology and we start, we start integrating more with global technology and globalization. There's some things that will definitely not be able to take place as they do now. And yes, I think initiatives like this are very important, having a platform and a safe place where people can discuss and communicate and not only talk about the past, but also talk about the future. I think that's very, very important. So thank you very much. That's my contribution.
Thank you, Torera.
I'm not sure if it's
Not to worry, it doesn't matter. Well, Torera, permit me to say, I've just seen something say fantastic. Permit me to say this. I remember just very few years back, a young lady saying, Auntie, I have a young lady who's looking for somebody to talk to. I want you to learn from this, that we adults must always make ourselves available. I said, that's fine. And Torera contacted me. And I learned a lot by listening to her in order to understand how best to enable what she was looking for. And years on, I started to respect this young lady. Her courage, how she was able to come to a conclusion that another Yoruba woman, myself, because most of the young ones in England don't necessarily find us Yoruba or Nigerian mothers approachable. So years on, I have learned so much about what the young girl, and Torera is quite a young woman, trust me, in the real sense of it, but matured. And a credit to your mother, I have to say, a real credit to your mother. And father, of course. You know, experiences are not necessarily bad. So, yes, thank you. There was a time I brought a read to be a host of this program, and thank you. And I decided to bring you in, to throw you in. She sent me a message. I said, get on with it. Thank you very much, my dear. I feel one needs to bring more people like yourself. Thank you for your contribution. It's a historic moment. I know that because you're in Nigeria, the network may throw you out at some point. So permit me at this junction to say thank you for joining us. And it's just fantastic. A lot learned. Do stay on, but just in case that, as usual, the network gets you out of the program, don't worry yourself. It's been fantastic. Getting your country. It's wonderful how you related even sex. Very important. You know, marriage is not so straitjacketed. It applies to governance. If you cannot within your marriage and experience quality relationship where the children will be able to get their capacity built. A major reason why, if you look at Nigeria, majority of the people they seem to lack the capacity to maneuver the challenges they are faced with. Let me go straight on to my next speaker. I'm delighted I've been able to bring in my Nigeria-based guest without interruptions. Let me go straight on to my next speaker. And I think at this junction, I want to bring in Honorable Ayodele Adeluola. Hope I've done that well. I won't introduce you. I would suggest that you please introduce yourself and do justice to the topic. Is Project Nigeria a marriage of inconvenience? Yes or no? Over to you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Like I've always addressed you, and I'll continue to address you as such, HRM, Royal Majesty. It's a pleasure to be here. And I actually came into to rest and spend time with my family, but I'm sure you are now putting icing on my cake. The topic is very interesting. But before I go on, let me stand on the protocol that has been well laid and also recognize the contributions from meaningful people that have spoken before me. I'm Ayodele Adeluola, a proud Lagosian, and I'm going to focus more on, I'm going to underpin my discussion on Lagos as a colony. That's a clue. I lived in England for over 2 decades and spent most of my working life here. And I work for the largest housing association in England and Wales as a business manager. And I'm proud to say that the job afforded me the opportunity to manage from the 7 continents of the world. As you know, we have 7 continents, and I have managed people from each continent of the world. So I know a little bit about people, their culture, how they reason, how they function, and how also they adapt to a different climate. Because I wasn't born in England. I was born in Lagos, Island Maternity to be precise, and I'm a very proud Lagosian. I will just introduce my academic background from where I stopped my education, which was Guildhall University, Moorgate, in central London. I was 2-term vice chairman, Pan-African Organization in London here, London Borough of Hackney. And that organization was funded by the London Borough of Hackney Council. And of course, we do get grants, aid from countries that their former presidents constituted the organization, the likes of Nkrumah, Tanzania, Nyerere of Tanzania, and the rest of them, including the Awolowos and all of them, Eyadema of Togo and all of them. The topic before us is a very interesting one. Marriage, that has been clearly defined by the second very important, powerful speaker. So I won't go too much into that. Basically, marriage is about man and a woman. Other parties are the families, friends, including institution. If you're a Christian, it should be a church. And if you are a Muslim, be a mosque. And if you are a Riwoya, the traditionalist, it will be them. That's traditionally the composition of a marriage. In the case of Nigeria, that is not true. We have the principal and we have the subjects. And when you have the principal and you have subjects, nobody can be deceived that is a marriage of partners, because it is not. The principal being the British government, and then the subjects, the North and the South. And if you then go down to divide that, then you'll be talking of the Hausas, the Igbos, and the Yorubas. And then we'll be looking at the amalgamation of Nigeria in 1914, January 1. Lagos has been in existence with its own budget, its own institutions, organs of government inclusive, before the amalgamation of Nigeria. In 1861, Lagos was annexed by the British. And as at that time, the population of Lagos was in excess of 600,000 people. And everything was functioning well. They inherited that. And that's one of the reasons they annexed Lagos and decided that Lagos is a colony on its own. And the seaport also helped in their decision to annex Lagos. So 1872, Lagos was well established, functioning perfectly well as a colony, a country, basically. February 1906, Lagos was then incorporated into the Southern Hemisphere, or what we can call Southern Nigeria. Was incorporated. And that is why we Lagosians, we say, Gedegbe l'Eko wa, Eko farateni kankan, dampu Gedegbe l'Eko. In fact, we are a bonus to Nigeria as a country. So I will not go into all that, but it's important that I state this because my brother there, Honorable Ojo Lanre-Wale, covered Nigeria from the viewpoint of Osun, and that's fine. Continue nílé èèyàn máa ń tà, ọmọ Èkó làwà, àwọn ìṣàrá Èkó. So, having said that, the principal was not honest enough to reveal their reasons for the amalgamation. And our people were not clever enough, with due respect to all of them, to comb below or beneath the surface to find out kí ló wà lẹ́yìn ẹ̀fà tó jèjé lọ, why these things. Because what all they wanted was independence. That was their focus. They did not, unfortunately, saw beyond their nose. And they accepted whatever was thrown at them as long as independence will come our way. Alas and behold, we became an independent nation. So, I'm going to end this by saying, if we are now saying the future of Nigeria, we may end up with 36 different countries, not Oduduwa. Honestly speaking, without consultation to anybody in Lagos State, I am speaking as Ayo Adeluola, a bona fide citizen of Lagos as a colony. We are not going to go with the Oduduwa people. We will not. I don't think we will. I will not. I will resist it. Because before the independence, or even after the independence, we became a republic. Before we became a republic, if you hold you don't need a passport to come to England in the first place. You get British passports because we are treated as British. And for over about 10 years afterwards, if you are born in Lagos, all you needed to do was go to the embassy and you are welcome to Britain. So why do we want to lose all that? For what? Because of Oduduwa, one Oduduwa state? I have no issue with Oduduwa state. If push comes to shove, I probably will consider it. But before we can even talk about Nigeria or where do we go from here, the so-called democracy we have, democracy academic definition has been given. What makes democracy work or function is nothing other than institutions. The institution must be supreme and be allowed to function independently. We have INEC that cannot organize safe elections. We have the judiciary that cannot function without prostrating to politicians. We have the executive that will be saying yes sir to a minister. Why? Because they want to embezzle, illicit acquisition of wealth. Of course, this is not peculiar to Nigeria alone. In England, they will probably describe it as sleaze, refined, polished word as an alternative to corruption. But in Nigeria, what do we say? Corruption. Before these agitations, 15 years ago, 25 years ago, nobody was agitating for breakup of Nigeria because people could afford to eat. People could afford to send their children to school. When I was a boy schooling in Lagos, my primary school education, when we are running late, maybe we've been punished or we've been playing after school hours, we shall go to a public pay phone and call our parents. That was Lagos in the 60s. We go to the red polling booth you will see on English roads, and we shall pick the phone, put money in it, or call the operator, a reverse charge, and then we shall speak to our parents in their offices to say, we were held up to do homework or some sort of things. We will say to our parents, because when you get home, or your mom should get home before you, you're going to answer query. Nigeria of today, the mother may not even get home until 8 o'clock. By 9 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the morning, the head of the family is drunk to stupor. And then the mother will be selling, hawking on this, under the sun, doing all sorts of things. I give kudos to our Nigerian women. I have great respect for them and admiration. Because in Nigeria today, when you talk of marriages, marriage is no longer everybody's cup of tea now. It's for the affluent and the super rich. Nigeria marriage. How many people are actually going into that institution called marriage? It's naming ceremony, if at all anything, and the mother of the child will stay with her parents. People cannot afford basic, essential amenities of life. So how would you now consider marriage as interesting to those people when a graduate cannot find job? Lagos Mowe Ibadan Expressway in the last 6 years is yet to be completed. Rehabilitation, not construction from scratch. And somebody is now telling me democracy is what? The academic definition of democracy must be resigned to the institutions of learning because it's not what you get on the ground. I decided to leave England. I was on the highest rate of income tax, just like the Prime Minister of Britain when I left England to return to Nigeria. So I'm talking from both sides of the coin because I'm a principal actor. I contested an election in 2007. I didn't win. Heaven did not fall. I carried on. And I called my team after the primary, after the general election, because I was a candidate of PDP in 2007 for Mushin Federal Constituency, for Mushin Constituency 2. And I called my guys and I said to them, well, We lost the election, but we won the argument for good governance. I also worked as a consultant to the chairman, Public Accounts Committee, State House of Assembly, Honorable Bolaji Yusuf Aina, who is a very good friend of mine, for so many years. And then I knew that more than 256 institutions, parastatals, agencies, Kwango, call it whatever you want to call them, collecting money from the state, and they have to submit their account. Well, let's leave that for another day. It's not for today's discussion. So what am I saying? Nigeria as a project, marriage, yes. It was never a marriage. Marriage is meant to be coming together of two people that are of equal or sees themselves as equal, with the intention to rub hands together, rub minds together, and better both lives. They will take our crude oil and send us petrol for our cars. What happened to the other 30 byproducts of that crude oil? And you are now telling me, no, it's a joke. It's a joke. So now, good governance is what we need in Nigeria. There are two ways of getting paid. I'm just going to quickly round up now. Two ways of getting paid. The electorate, as it stands in Nigeria today, they get their paycheck just before the election. And that paycheck is for 4 years. Then the elected officers, who will then go on to appoint other appointees, will collect their pay for 4 years. Not until when we learn to pay to vote by our conscience or based on the best person for the best job is going to be a vicious cycle. And I'm sorry, poverty will continue. The breakup agitation is led by poverty. Nothing more than poverty. The roads are not motorable, no electricity, no water, no schools, no hospitals. Why would our president come to England to receive treatment? Why didn't he set up good functioning hospitals in Nigeria? And you're now telling me democracy. Let us practice democracy the best way we understood democracy to function. Democracy is local, it's not international, it's not universal. Gaddafi once said, I practice democracy the way that suits my people. And we all saw what he did, good or bad. People are regretting that they killed the man. We've had leaders, and I'm sure we shall continue to have leaders. The way forward for Nigeria, I'm not advocating Nigeria should break up, but if Nigeria is, I don't want war. There should be no war. There must be a way this government must be made to listen and better the life of ordinary people, the true masters who voted them in, and let them have conscience. Madam Yawa, I thank you so much for putting this up.
Pleasure.
I'm available for questions. And God bless Nigeria. We have no other country, and I shall soon be returning to Lagos. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. Just looking at you, I'm saying to myself, may the soul of our dear Otumba Adarpo Williams rest in perfect peace. In you, I see a lot of him. Thank you for joining me today. And I have to say, listening to you, as somebody who can say that my family, yes, would be considered as one of those who established what is called Lagos today. And I can echo a lot of what you're saying, very much so. But the subject of Lagos ain't going with Oduduwa Republic is not new. I have a radio program, and on my radio station, this was in 2014, I had a guest. One of the, in fact, he was the gubernatorial candidate. He made it quite clear. So, but let me remind those of you, Johnny, welcome to Agbakuni Tony Leodo. This is a court. I don't want to hear you disagree or you agree. You don't agree or disagree. In a everybody's entitled to advance their own evidence. And don't forget, the matter before court is this. Is Project Nigeria a marriage of convenience? I don't need your agreement or disagreement. That is one culture we've got to get used to amongst ourselves. Anybody can lay their cards on the table. Haven't stood for elections on many occasions and won elections. I got used to, as a conservative, saying this is it, and the elector whose door I knocked will say, well, I hear you're a conservative. I don't vote for conservative. Fine. And I'm also used to somebody saying, here's a glass of wine. Delighted you are standing for the conservative. So please, let's get used to that. That is what democracy is all about. Let me go straight on to my next guest speaker, Princess Royal. And just in case people, they hear Afenifere, they only seem to hear one or two names. I think I'm delighted to be joined by a female member of Afenifere, and also a nurse. Permit me to bring in Royal Princess Sage. Please introduce yourself, Princess, and you have 15 to 20 minutes to address the topic for today. Over to you.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much, Ma, for inviting me. This is an honor. Thank you very, very much, Ma. These are my personal opinion, so it's not like Afenifere's opinion. So I just thought I should get that one out there. I'm going to be looking at what is Nigeria, and I will break it down bit by bit to go into marriage. So I'm going to ask, what does Nigeria or Nigeria, what does it actually mean? Niger or Nigeria, or Niger actually mean black in Latin or Portuguese language. And that name was given to us by our colonizer. We were not given a chance, to say who we are at our naming ceremony by the colonizer. Therefore, by calling ourselves Nigerian, we are actually saying we are black. It's like equivalent to people saying nigga, nigga, nigga. So that is what we're saying. And it's a pity that the colonizer cannot really identify us with any other thing apart from the color of our skin. And then you look, who is the Nigerian? Do Nigeria have culture? Do Nigeria have tradition? Do Nigeria have language? Do Nigeria have religion? Personally, I guess not. However, we have Yoruba language, we have Yoruba culture, we have Yoruba tradition, we have Yoruba religion in our own Ifa. Now, Ifa, as far as I'm concerned, that is the only religion of African origin which is recognized globally. And I think we should be very proud of our forefathers for that. They've left their mark. So what is Nigeria? I think Nigeria is a business venture. Our colonizer see Nigeria as business venture, a commodity. So if Nigeria is a business venture, who creates Nigeria then, or owns Nigeria? Nigeria is created by the British royal family, the weapon makers, and few businessmen. And I think from Liverpool. So they came together and they create a company called Royal Niger Company. By the way, that same company is still in existence in form of Unilever today. So that is where we get our name from, the indivisible name of Nigeria. That is where it comes from. And that company actually deal with stealing our resources, selling our brothers and sisters. So when you go to South America, all over the world, and you find somebody that looks like you, those are the people that sell them. So they sold our families. So when we say slave, we are referring to ourselves, we're referring to our cousins, we're referring to our brothers who have been stolen away and taken outside Africa. So that is my brief description of Nigeria. Now we're talking of marriage. And I'm going to be talking about marriage in Yoruba land, in our culture. I'm not very vast in all Yoruba culture, so I'm just going to say a bit of what I know about Yoruba culture in marriage. I think marriage in Yoruba culture is a union between two people and their families, because in Yoruba culture, when you marry, you are not just marrying your husband or your wife, you are actually marrying the family as well, and then by extension, the community. So Yoruba culture actually, Yoruba marriage actually showcase our culture and our tradition. Marriage in Yoruba culture is supposed to unify us, bring happiness, joy, development, and cooperation between family and the community. So in Yoruba culture, our forefathers will actually go from both sides of the family. They will investigate, they will do a bit of investigation about the person's background, see if the two young people are suitable to each other. They look at the taboo and the characters of the families, the history of the families and their background before agreeing, to give out their children in marriage. So did the colonizer, do they ask us Yoruba if we want to be married? Did they consult our forefathers before this union? Do they do any investigation the way Yoruba people will do investigation before marriage? Do they do any of this before joining us together? So, so if marriage between Yoruba and Nigeria, is it convenient or inconvenient? As for me, I would say it is absolutely inconvenient. It was a forced marriage into an abusive polygamy of continuous rape, financial abuse, physical and mental abuse, which has led to bastardized children. Marriage is supposed to bring progress, happiness. However, and this is my own take about Nigeria or about Yoruba, that it has brought, the marriage between Yoruba and Nigeria has turned out to be a suffering of our people. And our people have become inferior and destitute in their own country, with no job, no food, no good healthcare system, and no adequate housing. And now I think about, why does marriage fail? So why do we have these problems in this Yoruba and Nigeria marriage? I say in case of Yoruba and Nigeria, it is lack of respect. When you do not respect your partner, when you treat your partner as if they're a second-class citizen or they're nobody, or when one partner feels superior to the others, and you don't have no consideration for that person, these are part of the reasons that lead to marriage failure. The abuse in the first union has become so unbearable with stealing of Yoruba resources. There's so many greediness, selfishness, untruthfulness, terrorism, kidnapping and driving Yoruba out of their ancestral land. These are some of the reasons why this marriage, for me personally, has failed. Should Yoruba continue to stay in this marriage? Now, this is my opinion. Absolutely no. Because it will destroy us and it will destroy our children yet unborn. In this marriage, our mindset is completely different from the others in this marriage. We've gone through so many abuse in this marriage. An average Yoruba man and woman, for example, we don't care about religion in Yoruba land. Religion is not our problem. We are Yoruba first and foremost. In our Yoruba family, we have those who are Christian, Muslim, and traditional religion believer. And we don't even care about skin of color with Yoruba first. We have families who are white now in South America. They are Yoruba first before they are white skin. So we don't see any difference. If we are Yoruba, then you come from that Yoruba is what is more important for us. Now, do I see any good thing in the future of Nigeria? I guess you all know where I'm going. Absolutely no. When you look at the people that have ruled us for so many years, they have destroyed this union. That is my own opinion. They have learned some destructive behaviors from the creator of Nigeria, which is rob people of their asset and rule over them by all means, with no consideration for others in the marriage. For example, you take taxes generated from Yoruba land. You take our oil. You collect money, like taxes from cigarette, from alcohol, from hotel. And then you go, oh, I'm against smoking. I'm against drinking of alcohol. You don't like people staying in a hotel. You will even arrest them. But yet, you can take my money and go and build your own region. I don't think that is fair. In fact, you even claim to have more children than me, and you even claim that you've got bigger landmarks than me, and you take my money with you. When you take my money, I smoke, I drink. You take my money, where am I going to get good hospitals? So Yoruba government, they are not able to provide hospital for me if I fall sick. You look at the people that live near the airport, they inhale so much films from all those planes landing in Lagos. And all those people, they're going to fall sick. So which hospital will they go to? Where is the money to build the hospitals? It has been taken away to other regions. And our education system has been destroyed by people that hate us. And that is my opinion. When you look at University of Ibadan was a sister university to University College London. Today, University College London is still a very, very reputable university in the whole world. You would do anything to get your child into that university. So what has happened to University of Ibadan? Is University of Ibadan one of the 50th best university in the world? I doubt it. But UCL is still up there. So our education system have been destroyed. Majority of Yoruba parents, they try their best to give their children the best education possible, because that is what they were told. ensure your children get the best education, they will get the best job. So, owó aláta, owó onírùn, they will struggle, they will toil, they will stay in the sun. They will sell their clothes, they will sell their jewelry, they will sell their properties to ensure that their children get the best education. And what happened to those people after the children, after they have graduated? Where would they get the jobs from? There's no job for them. Our airport, our seaport, our police, our transportation, our tax office job, everything taken by foreigners. When you go to Lagos, or even any part of Yoruba land, in most of our offices, it's other people that are there. You know, you come into Lagos, you're thinking, especially if you've not been to Nigeria for a long time, you think, oh, I'm coming home, and you go into Lagos, and you are expecting to see your own fellow Yoruba people. You go there, you are even feel ashamed if you dare speak Yoruba there, because everybody there are all from all over the world. But go to Abuja. I've been there. Hausa is spoken freely there. You will know that you are in a northern city when you visit Abuja, because they're very, very proud. They speak their language. So if we are not able to speak our own language in our own territory, what does that say about us? It means this is another form of slavery, because when what identifies you, your culture, your language, your food, those are what identify you. But then when all those ones, if you are being robbed of your culture, of your language, if you are not able to speak your own language in your own territory, then I think that is a form of slavery.
Okay.
And you notice our children, you know, they've run from pillar to post. Everybody looking for a way out of Nigeria, running here and there. When you look at those who died in the desert, majority are Yoruba. When you look at those who died in the Atlantic Ocean, majority are Yoruba, looking for escape route. And when they finally get to their destination, that is another story of struggle when they actually get there. But before they get there, it's not everybody that is privileged, you know, to be able to just pick up your passport, come to England and come and live your life, or be born in England, or coming from maybe an affluent family when you don't really have to struggle. But there's a lot of 95% of Yorubas are actually suffering. And before they can make it here, it is very, very difficult. You look at our inheritance curated by people like Baba Awolowo and co. Everything deliberately taken over and destroyed. Where is the Odua's investment? Everything gone. Where are all the industry built by Baba Awolowo and co in those days? Everything taken over, destroyed by people that they think, oh, we cannot compete with these Yoruba people, so let's take them down by all means, let's destroy them by all means. These are what I think about what is happening to us. In conclusion, do I believe in Nigeria? Obviously, I think you know where I'm going. I don't. I do not believe that we should remain in this union. If we stay, it will destroy us.
Thank you.
We must live an abusive marriage. And I think we must defend our land, defend our people with our sweat and blood. The British defended their land with all their might, with their blood, with their sweat. When Hitler tried to invade them, they did not fold their arms. They take action against him. If British have folded their hands, today we will not have the freedom, the lifestyle, that we enjoy in this great country called Britain.
Thank you.
So let us get up, defend our ancestral land. Our land is a gift from our forefathers. This land is borrowed for us to use for a short while, and we must ensure that we pass this land
Thank you.
back to our children.
Thank you very much indeed, Princess. I think you can have an opportunity to do the rest when the thoughts come. I must get to the next speaker and thank those from Nigeria who may want to leave. I do apologize. Let me at this junction say that was wonderful. I know towards the end when I invite you to share your thoughts, please, you may go on a little bit longer if you still have one or two things to add. That's been wonderful. Very well presented, and we just had Royal Princess Moyosolua Sage. Thank you very, very much indeed. Let me now thank my keynote guest speaker of honor, who is an extremely busy person, although he's based in France. He's not based in Nigeria, but it's been quite difficult for him to find time to join us, and that is Baba Aye, Comrade Baba Aye, who did open the evidence for the matter before court eloquently, and has actually got other witnesses to focus their thought on the key aspects of enabling us to reach a conclusion whether or not Project Nigeria is a marriage of convenience or inconvenience. Baba, thank you so much for joining me today. Thanks for your time. I wish you continued success in all you do in France, and let's hope that in not too distant a future will be a much cherished privilege to welcome you back. So if you do want to leave at any point in time, feel free to do so. I thank you for joining me today. Let me go straight on to my last speaker, and that is actually, I call him Alagba, but he's a barrister really, a legal practitioner, Barrister Dapo Ogunrinde, a business consultant as well. Thank you, Baba. So over to you, Alagba Dapo Ogunrinde. Have you, let's see. Hello, Barrister Dapo Ogunrinde, are you there? Please.
Yes, I'm here.
Over to you now. Thank you.
Good afternoon to everybody listening on to this program. And again, kudos to Erelu Tunwache for putting this program together. When I was given this topic, my name is Dapo Ogunrinde. As you know, as mentioned just now, I practice law both in Nigeria and United Kingdom, and also engage in business consultancy at the same time. When I was given this topic, I was struggling with how to write this topic because I'm not a politician. I just do my work.
Barrister, you need to adjust yourself a little bit to the center because we keep losing your face.
I advise people. I advise people who are into politics, but I don't do politics at all at the same time. And this topic was actually put together by my partner in Nigeria, and some input again from my personal assistant, who has made sure that I can make this presentation. I've listened to the wonderful contributions from various link from the politicians string, from the sociological link at the same time. But something happened yesterday, which is quite interesting. I had a meeting with a Brazilian woman yesterday, and she said, "Oh, Nigerian people, you are very intelligent people." I smiled and said, "That is my country. That's the country that we know we are from." And again, I spoke to a friend of mine a few days ago, and they were saying that, oh, the insecurity in Nigeria is so horrendous, it's terrible, things are going pear-shaped. children go to NYC now, they have to be monitored on Google.
A temporary interruption by the network.
Go briefly to something. Yes. Nigerian history, let us start from the pre-colonial era. Then they have 4 distinct physical regions, which is the South, the Middle Belt, the West, the North. As at that time, the Hausa Fulani, they had a system of government which is run by emirs and chief of the Hausa dynasty. The West is being run by powerful kingdoms. The East, we have the clan head or minor chief. Now, but elaborate system is both in the North and West, but this is much more in the West. Now, in the East, there was great fragmentation of political system because the people, they cannot stand autocratic rule at all. However, between 1914 to 1922, Nigeria witnessed something considerable development of government at the same time. For the first time, 4 indigenous people were brought together into the Legislative Council. And 2 political parties contested those seats. We must be aware that what we are saying is amalgamation now is more, that's what people are saying is a marriage at the same time. But it's an amalgamation that was brought about for the political expediency of the colonial master. I say it again, it's for the political expediency of the colonial master. They know their goal. They know what they want to achieve. However, if I'm going to come down to the issue about marriage now, when you are in marriage, you have to coexist at the same time. You have to have, but if you are saying this is a marriage at the same time, which court do you go to for separation? There is simply no court, because the system that was created at that time does not create anything like court. So then what are we saying? Pessimism, because it was created by colonial imperialism, which dated back to the 19th century. The purpose of them was for their own purpose, not for our own purpose at the same time. They have their own agenda. They have their own plans. Now, we know that, and we all know it's in history that Lord Lugard, who was the first High Commissioner to Nigeria, he's one that created the Northern Protectorate in 1900. Then they have a headquarters in Lokoja. Then from there, they moved to Jeba, and then to Zungeru, and then to Kaduna. You remember that Lugard now went back to 1992. He went back to the governor of Southern Nigeria before they now carved out the amalgamation of Nigeria. Mark that word. He went to the governor of Northern and Southern Nigeria. All right, before he formed this amalgamation. Now, given the fusion of bring about different kingdoms and city states like Kanem Bono, the Fulani, Danfodi Empire, Benin Empire, Kingdom of Ife, and Oyo Empire, Boni, New Calabar, Okrika, Brass, and Wari. Let us remember too, the Igbo of the Southeast and the small ethnic groups of the Plateau and other parts. They were not part of these prominent empires. However, they created in Nigeria, which has a land area of about 356,669 square miles. It's so big and bogus. The independence of the Oduduwa people. This is now calling for the question of, can Nigeria survive? Can we survive this amalgamation? That is not in my hand. It's not in anybody's hand. We have our politicians at the same time who need to lead us aright. Even the Yoruba people that they are calling for a nation, there's not even one single voice. The voices is vary from one person to the other at the same time. Nigeria is still Nigeria because we can actually survive as a huge country, make a difference in the world, in Africa as a whole, rather than fragmented state. But however, things are still not being run properly. Now, let me go a bit further. Remember that in 1914, actually, the Nigerian Chronicle says that the amalgamation itself, which we are calling marriage now, is a union of names as opposed to union of customs, manners, and cultures. All right? In fact, actually, in our earlier nationalist, he said that the amalgamation of 1914 is only mere geographical expression. It up till now, because of what we are still having failed leadership. All right. I'll stop my presentation there, and I hope that other people will be able to make a minimal contribution about the concept of Nigeria and whether the Republic of Nigeria is a matter of convenience or the amalgamation will succeed or do not succeed. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Barrister Ogunide. As usual, one can expect the professionalism you've actually displayed. Thank you, and you've taken us to the right point where we need to begin to advance further evidence in support of the matter before court. And what is the matter? Is Project Nigeria a marriage of convenience or inconvenience? I've had evidence presented by a variety of individuals from their own first-hand encounters of either being in this so-called marriage, outside of it, being a beneficiary, being a consumer, being a provider, and so on and so forth. But let me go straight on to the chat room area and see what comments we've got in order to see if I can add further evidence. Let me go straight on to that. Let's see what we've got in the chat room area. Well, first, let's see. I've got, right, okay. From Aduni, marital journey starts from singlehood, required parental values, bank on large disparities in expectation and reality. From Aduni, fantastic speech, Torera, thanks for reiterating importance of transparency and accountability. Take note of that. Many Yoruba marriages are not transparent. They continue to fool themselves. Not to talk about the marriage they have entered into, forced, contractual, consensual, whatever, with other tribes. Now, accountability and transparency, my goodness, always an issue for me when I come across moments when I have to involve in certain disputes. The number of secrets, huge number of secrets you find. Let me go straight on to the next one. Important to reinforce that Nigerian culture is highly powered factor, while our children in England are raised in climate of low cultured factor. We need to bridge the gap. Thanks. Oluboyega Bamboye, good approach in reference to governance in Nigeria. Now, from Adebayo Moses Adeleke, maybe USA systems of governance where each state control of everything in her state. Then, of course, I have this long one. I'm very sorry, Erelu. I totally and utterly disagree with Honorable Ayodele Adeluola for saying only Lagosians entitled with the British passport to travel to Britain. Let me assure you that my late father arrived in the United Kingdom just immediately after WW2 on a colonial government scholarship. Whatever that's supposed to mean, I won't interpret that unless you say so. With exemption from London matriculation to the Imperial College, and graduated with a first class in civil engineering. Please, let's manage our facts. From Tinola, Tinola Kishola, Uncle Ayo Adeluola, glad to see a fellow island maternity baby. Me, me, I am Mercy. Please, all those governmental shortcomings are some of the reasons we have to call on Southwest governments to account. Join hands to ensure the Yorubas are no longer maligned, abused, raped, decimated, murdered. From Hawaii, Samuel, somebody. Very good, madam. Loss of identity brought us where we are. Adebayo Moses Adeleke, thanks for well presentation, princess, about our culture. Erelu, it's been a great meeting. Thanks for the invite that came from Baba Ye. He had to leave, and he says, my warm regards and appreciation to all distinguished participants at the meeting. And he said, by all my regards. So let me go straight on back to the topic. Many people take for granted what I call transferable skills. Transferable skills comes from, thank you, Torera, being a child in a home. That to me is a nation, is a country. If you happen to be in a home with a father, a mother, siblings, the siblings I consider as the people. I'm looking at a home. And you have a father and a mother that hardly engage in. Please go and reflect back on every one of us. The kind of home you grew up in. The kind of home you grew up in. Please, I want us to focus on Torera's experience, shared. And thank you, Torera, because I call that a case study, which has illuminated what we're talking about. Mom and dad, you know, in a polygamous relationship, and I don't want to focus on Torera, how many marriages they pretend that they're in one man, one wife relationship. I use that because how come Nigeria will not be functioning in the same way? Deceit, deception. Project Nigeria is the biggest deception that anybody can talk about. And they are forever maneuvering and manipulating themselves. First of all, they started with North and South, then they became Western, Northern, Eastern, then they became this, and they're still producing more wives, more wives. Yes, let me stop there. And I know somebody is raising up his hand. Now, please, when I ask you to speak, be focused. I don't want you going all over the place. Be focused on your point. If it's a question, please put your question and end it. Don't explain the question. If it's a comment, please make your comment short, and that will be very helpful. I'll come back to you in a moment. Permit me to go on and say, it's very important for the viewers to know why I've chosen marriage. Transferable skills. Please. Now, if you grew up in a family where mother and father are forever deceiving one another, they are forever deceiving one another. Deception. Do they trust one another? Go to the top of Nigeria. Excuse me. I once had a guest who told me on this program that there's no trust. No trust amongst them, even amongst the Yoruba, if you like, the Yoruba representatives of our nation who are meant to be enabling solutions to our problems. They don't trust one another. They don't work together. Am I making sense? Then you you have these people who God knows how they emerge to be representatives at the top of the tree. But they would have been abused thoroughly by the electors. Money taken away from them. Money taken away from them. Robbed. Àti jà wọ́n lólè. A máa bẹ̀bẹ̀ fowó bí àwọn oníbàárà. Let me stop there. I want to go to Aduni or Aduni. Over to you. Please share your thoughts.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's fantastic being on this program. I have to pack because I can't type. I was driving to be able to give a short comment. I could be young, but not super young. But I've listened to everybody, fantastic comment. But one thing I would really like to highlight, and I think that would be a great starting point for either the politicians, either the Yorubas, either the Igbos or the Northerners, is to recognize that the marriage
I hope you are not driving. If you're driving, you will need to stop and make your
Nigeria is a marriage. If we can liken that, marriages reached. So if we can go back on the board, I've got really bad signal. I don't know if you can hear me. If we can go back onto the table, go back to counseling and dialogue, and everybody states what they don't like or what they like in the marriage, I think it will make a lot of difference. So like we go to marriage counseling in our individual marriages, I think that will be a starting point to that up. Thank you very much. That will be all from me.
Thank you very much. Spot on. Therapy. That's what it's called. Therapy. I mean, if you're in court, in actually reaching a conclusion, sometimes rehabilitation is a very good idea, or indeed probation. Let me go to Ola. Oh, wonderful. Who have I got here? Another legal luminary. Alagba Olasupojo, over to you. Thank you for joining me today.
Yes, thank you, Ma. Thank you, everybody. It's quite a delight, and I'm trying to ensure that I don't miss any of the session with you. You look at things from angles that people don't usually look at it, and it brings out a lot of knowledge for me. Now, we generally agree we are in a marriage to which we did not give our consent. That means it's a forced marriage. The issue for me is how do we extricate ourselves from a forced marriage like this? And a marriage where we suffer loss, where we are not happy, where we cannot realize our potential, where we are actually being reduced to slaves, where our identity is being diluted, and things are being done to actually erase us and give us a name that we don't have. I mean, to rename us and then give us another character. Now, but how do we educate ourselves? I'm happy with what our sister has mentioned, that we need some therapy. We need somebody, we need to go somewhere for counseling. But that is where both parties actually understand, have the knowledge of what counseling can do in such a situation. In our situation, I know the leaders of Yoruba, they have written letters to the federal government and saying, come, our marriage is not working. Let us dialogue. But up till now, they are not interested in any dialogue. They are not. Rather, they are sending soldiers, both the official soldiers and unofficial soldiers, carriers of AK-47, to go out and begin to kill people, both in the west, in the east, in the south, and even in the middle belt. People are dying. People are being killed. And there's a silent war going on. So I think we should not wait until the other party comes to the dialogue table. We need now to go and beg the international community to use all our contacts. Let us give them the chronicle of the death, of what is going on here. Tell them to intervene as soon as possible to compel parties to go to the round table and talk. We are civilized. We don't want war. But then if we don't want war and the other party, they want war, then we should have our own strategy to also contain them and protect our own people. Thank you. Erelu, God bless.
Thank you. Thank
And
you
God
very
bless
much.
everybody.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Very well said. I mean, as we were talking, I have got in my mind's eye a situation where Nigeria is the husband and all these wives, and you are getting from one side the children of one wife moving in on the children of the other wife and killing them. Yes?
And the husband is in love.
The husband, absolutely useless man.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Please, this is not a joke. Look at the picture I'm painting. You have a man who is the head of a household who has got this, God knows how many wives he's got. But in any case, what we know is that there is one wife called Fulani who has been sending her own children to go and kill everybody. They will move, everybody's got their own quarters. Yes, everybody's got their own quarters. But the children of this wife will go to other people's quarters and go and make a nuisance of themselves. And the father is absolutely useless. So, and is there anybody we can call? Now, the father, royal princess, talked about marriages between not just you and your husband, but extended family. All these House of Representative members, all these senators, all of them, they are not doing what extended family should be doing. They're not. They are not doing anything. See the killings every day. Killings every day. They're doing nothing. So I think whilst the focus of today is to get enough evidence to let us reach a conclusion that Project Nigeria is a marriage of inconvenience. We heard Lagos. He didn't say he was speaking for Lagos, but again, is a child of another wife. This wife is called Lagos. So I think we need to think about that the Yoruba that you call one wife is not one wife. Yoruba has got many wives. And the Lagos, he said, we are not, Lagos is not going with you.
Yes.
Because Lagos was already on our own.
Colony.
On our own. Lọ́tọ̀ ní Èkó ti dá wà ní gédégbé. Kí wọ́n tó lọ tọrùn ẹ̀ bọ inú relationship yìí. Now, Èkó lòun ò lọ. Olóhun ò bá yín lọ.
So Eko will remain with the husband, with the Fulani. Let them remain, and yes, let them remain. The rest of us, we are prepared to go. Let Lagos remain with the super husband. Yes.
You see, now I don't know if Ekiti, because Ekiti is another area where we don't hear anything from Ekiti. Whether Ekiti is going to...
What do you mean? What do you mean that I don't hear anything from Ekiti?
If you are moving in your room, your network will be bad.
I'm not. My network is not bad. I've put on my contribution, and one Eko side is not going on with us. And what do you want to do? Let it go remain like Chupo said. Let Eko continue to marry. But I believe that when a marriage is not well structured, like Chupo insisted, you can go to the toilet. and
Okay.
said, how can we structure this thing?
Okay.
Where a marriage, where somebody is oppression, there is a national oppression now.
Okay.
Like good governance talks about transparency. Are we transparent in this marriage? Is the husband transparent? Is there equality? Is there equity? All these things can still be table on the right table and suggested by George. After that, then let us see where we go. Of course.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank
you. Before we go any further, permit me, as somebody who has had the most cherished privilege of being involved in British politics from the days of Ted Heath, when we went into the subject of European Union, to when Mrs. Thatcher and so on, to when I was at the forefront of single currency campaign, where we in England said we were not going to have our currency change to euro. Let me say one of these matters which most people don't talk about. After 36 years of being a Conservative Party, please can you mute yourself, please? Alagbadem Luala, please mute yourself. Right. So after 36 years of membership of the Conservative Party in England and Wales, there's one thing in England precisely. Let me say, one thing we looked at was debt. This husband called Nigeria is a major debtor. This husband is in serious debt beyond belief. That's not just that. This debt and this marriage and people proposing to exit. I don't hear people talking about what they're going to do with the debt that the country is owing. That's one thing. Let's go to the different states. Let me take Ogun State as an example. As far as I know, I read that Ogun State is in debt to the sum of 59 billion. Somebody told me just as I came on the program that's 150 billion. Okay, we are looking at marriage. So if you're in a marriage and the marriage isn't working, there's something called asset distribution. You've got to look at the asset, and that includes liabilities. So I'm not suggesting that prevents you from dissolution of your marriage or marriages in this case, but there's one matter which all parties concerned must look at: the debt. Let's go for 6 Yoruba states. If each 6 Yoruba state owes 59 billion they owe. Now, will the debt be written off as the marriage is dissolved? What's going to happen to the debt? I don't need an answer to that, but I just want to relate what's happening to Nigeria as I presented marriage. What happens? What happens? Bad governance. Now, I don't even believe an average Nigerian really know the exact figure of debt. When we were campaigning for debt redemption leading to 1999, I was one of those who said, if Nigeria is, please show us the bank account. Show us. What have they been doing with them? Who is owing what? So whatever we are doing or thinking in terms of the future of this Mr. Nigeria and his 500 wives, I don't know how many wives he's got, but let's say 36 wives for now, although I can see certain correspondences on social media seems to suggesting he's thinking of marrying other wives. So let's look at the debt. The debt.
Don't worry about debt. Don't worry about debt. There is bad debt.
Can I stop? I won't allow you, Chairman. No, Chairman, no. I know there is bad debt. This is the Nigerian attitude to money. Bad debt.
It was zero.
Níjọ́ wo ló wọ zero.
Ọjọ́ tó bá ti kíyà ló wọ zero.
Ẹ̀yin tẹ́ jẹ àwọn tó jẹ ní gbèsè wọ́n wá jẹ́ kẹ́ máa lọ lọ́fẹ̀ẹ́.
wọ́n ti dissolve fundamental tó ti já gbèsè, wọ́n ti dissolve ẹ̀. So ó ti wọ bad debt.
Okay, all right. Did you
Yeah.
hear the world? The world, this is the attitude we get. You know, they actually amass debt and they irresponsibly tell the whole world to turn into bad debt. It cannot go into bad debt
Exactly.
because if I happen to be one of those you are owing money to, I am not going to agree that it's gone to bad debt. Anyway, let me stop there and invite further comments. Let's go to the Liberty Media Communications. Any comments? Please do not interrupt what is being said as we get the feedback from Liberty Media Communications. Over to you, Liberty Media Communications. Mr. Bello, what
Yes.
have we got?
Yes, in fact, Erelu, I think we've got a clear person who is being loved, so riveting today, and that was Princess. And I think Princess really gave what the Yoruba agitators wanted. In fact, James Ogunlowo, one of your regulars, said she said, "Oh, if Princess is not married, that because of what she said, that she can marry Princess." So, and then again, she made loads of comment with full of hearts that she has brains. God bless Yoruba Nation now. She's not a bastard. Suleiman Yusuf, let me post that, said, "Thank you, my sister," again to Princess. James Ogunlowo said, "Mrs. T, God bless you." So Latif Oladipo Usman is saying, capital no. Nigeria cannot survive this amalgamation. And again, most people, according to James Ogunlowo, most people don't know the Yoruba Empire. Yoruba Empire has been around before Nigeria. Now, let me go to the bottom. I've got Temi Kingswell, another of your avid regular now. Temi Kingswell said, "The creation of the amalgam imposed existential threat to the Yoruba people. Nobody in his or her right mind should tell us to continue suffering and at the same time smiling. Kamari, Yoruba self-determination is what we, the majority of the youths, passionately desire." Now, Ade Kripsey, now becoming one of your regulars now, Ade Kripsey said, "Mom, why are you talking like this, ma? Despite your accent and eloquence, you are exposed, ma. We will share the debt and seek partial debt forgiveness." I think he's actually referring to what the Ekiti State man is talking about just a couple of minutes ago. So, Erelu, I'll hand over the mic back over to you.
Thank you very much. And to those contributors, I say thank you for tuning in and being part of this program. Your feedback matters. Let me go straight. Oh, I can see Princess wants to come in. Princess, I'm going to invite you back now, but may I also add that you kindly give your closing summary at the same time. Over to you, Princess.
Thank you very much, ma. I just want to say regarding to the debt, ma, I am not an accountant, but I think there's like people that specialize in auditing who can actually trace where the money is being spent. So for every money that is borrowed, these people can actually trace where they spend the money. If it is spent on Yoruba soil, then I'm sure we have the money. I come from Ondo State. We've got oil in Ondo State. We have a large coast in Ondo State, and we have the second world deposit of bitumen in Ondo State. So Ondo State is a very, very rich state. So I just want people to know that money is no problem in Yoruba land if we're given the opportunity to manage our wealth very well. When our forefathers, Baba Awolowo and co, when they built all those things that they did, that they built, it was based on cocoa money. So at that time, oil was not, they were not selling oil. But imagine now we've got oil, we have gold, we have so many things. So all what they need to do is bring out the those who can audit, financial auditors, to check where was this money spent in Yoruba land, was this spent in Igbo land, was this spent, so that everybody will pay whatever they're owing. So we cannot say because we are owing money or debt that we're not going to leave Nigeria. And for my closer remark, I just want to ask us Yoruba to be vigilant, not to allow, those who are conquered, those who are conquered to use what they have learned from the conqueror on to take us for granted, or to use that one as an opportunity to drive us out of our land. We must remember that our forefathers were warriors. They were empire builders, our forefathers. Imagine Yoruba Empire or your empire actually go all the way to Ghana. We were there. We were in Ghana, we were in Benin, we were in Togo. These are our forefathers. So we're not cowards, and we will never surrender our land to anybody. We must defend our land, and not just for us, but for our children and for our children unborn. Thank you very much. Really, I'm really honored, ma, for giving this opportunity. And thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you very much, Royal Princess Moyosolu Asage, who is a nurse. And although the views she has expressed today it is not one that belongs to a very old, well-known organization that she is a member of. Please mute yourself, whoever is, please kindly mute yourself. Thank you. So her views are personal to herself, but I hope my viewers have seen one female who is a member of Afenifere. She is a member of Afenifere. She's eloquently expressed her views. I hope that gets a message across to many of you out there. Thank you, Princess. Princess is normally quiet, but when I say, Princess, please come and speak, please, please, she will say, okay, I will think about it. And then she will finally say, okay, I'll come. Wonderful, Princess. I want to see more of you. We need people like you at the forefront of this great journey into where Yoruba deserves to be. Thank you, and all the very best in all your future endeavors. Now, let me go straight to my next, let's see, where am I going to go to? Let me go to Chairman, that is, let me bring in Ekiti State for his closing remarks. Alagba, are you there still with me for your closing remarks?
Yeah, after listening to all suppositions and contributions, these are very, very interesting, thought-provoking, and it's about deep reflection of our being as a nation. I believe that whatever marriages of inconvenience we have can still be traced. You go on to a round table to discuss the fundamental of having a successful marriage. Thank you very much, Elu, for this. And for me, I believe in Nigeria. God bless you all.
Thank you very, very much. I know how busy you are. Somebody who is...
I'm still in the office.
I can see you are somebody who is in government. It's always difficult to pin down people like yourself, and I'm delighted I've been able to do just that. Your submission is that it doesn't matter what's going on at the moment, time to go to the round table and talk to each other. I think that fits in with what we have in England, Georgia, in order to see whether there are any maneuvering corners for us to be able to do what is best. It may be when we go to the round table, we all agree it's time to go. Or will I all agree? Let's do whatever. That's your submission. Thank you so much. Very clearly stated. So whether it's a marriage of inconvenience or convenience, we're already in it. We're already in it. We're going to find a way forward. We are stuck. We've got to the crossroad. We can't go forward, we can't go right, we can't go left, we can't go backward, we cannot stay in the same position, otherwise the bus will crush our enemy, as they'll say. So, Ekitikete, thank you very much indeed for joining. Thank you. I wish you Americans. Thank you very much indeed. I wish you well. Let me go straight. Thank you, Eshe. Let me go straight on to one of my. Well, I think it's time to bring in Torira. Tora, over to you. Your final thoughts on today.
Thank you very much, Ma. My final thoughts of today is quite simple. It's been a very insightful. Miss Princess, her contribution was extremely insightful, and I like the way in which she was able to marry the concept or join the concept of marriage to, you know, our actual country. I thought that was really interesting. So thank you very much for inviting me. And, you know, God bless everybody. And I look forward to our next meeting. Thank you.
Torera Olaya, thank you very much. I thank you for the bold attempts you made to be able to share your thoughts with us. And so grateful that you've been able to take part. I hope that young people out there would learn from what's happened today, and that is, here is someone born in United Kingdom, raised in United Kingdom, and she ventured to live in Nigeria. That's where she is now, making things happen. That's courage for you. Thank you, and I wish you continued success. I look forward to having you back in the near future, especially to anchor for a change, so I can relax. Thank you. Let me go straight on to, I think, Barrister Dapo Gunide. Over to you. Barrister Dapo Gunide, your final thoughts. Are you still with us? Well, it looks as if either we've lost him via the network. In the Zoom area, anyone who wants to share their thoughts before I bring this to a closure? Oh, I haven't forgotten you, Honorable Adeluola. Over to you.
Lagos is too cosmopolitan to be forgotten. And I trust that it wasn't deliberate. And I understand the pressure you are under. Let me just say thank you so very much for putting this up. It's been very, very interesting. And just before the closing remarks for me, I stated that about the Lagos issue, that it was mine, and it is still my personal opinion. Gedegbe l'Èkó wà, Èkó ti wà, kí Nàìjíríà tó wà. And you can't just wish that away. Governor Wike has placed curfew in the state, basically banning neighboring states from entering his state. That is telling you something. Governor Obiano has followed suit. I said earlier, it's a wishful thinking to assume that the Yoruba-speaking states will just fall into Oduduwa. A lot of work will be needed to be done. Because with the budget of Lagos State and the IGR and the structure in place, it is no match to any other state in the Southwest or in the Republic. When you say marriage of equals, wọ́n lẹ́ran tó níwò ló máa kọ̀yọ̀ pa, ṣé bí ti gbin ni? Ìgbín ò sínú league. So that we need to be properly explored and not be assumed. For the fact that we speak Yoruba, we have no any other medium of expression than Yoruba, but the distinctive nature of Lagos must be respected, must be taken into consideration before assuming that we are going to just follow to Dudua. It's my personal opinion. That's number one. Then number two, why do we even get married in the first place? It's selfishness. I want to monopolize that lady just for me and me alone. I want to monopolize that man for myself and myself alone. That's why we get married. And that's why before all things being equal in a just relationship, before you get married, you take that woman to all your clubs, all your friends, so that they see her with you, identify the two of you as one. Basically saying to other people, stay clear of this man, stay clear of this woman. She's mine, he is mine. It's still selfishness. And then you marry the woman. When you then marry the woman or the man, you then do all that is within you to ensure that the product of the marriage comes from just the two of you. I'm sure the elders will have second opinion on that. So that's why we marry in the first place. It's because we are selfish. But then marriage will teach us responsibility and comes with some rights and privileges. Again, that is not for today's discussion. So the marriage as it were now regarding Nigeria, like I said, 20 years ago, there was no agitation per se because Nigeria was good. People could afford to eat, afford to renew their rent, send their children to school, enjoy life. But the hardship is what is fueling this agitation of Oduduwa go, Igbo go, Hausa go, this go. I think what we need to do is to get people together to look at how we can make the structure work better. Lagos will definitely survive as a country on its own with our population. What is the population of Sweden? What is the population of Malta? What is the population of so many other countries that are on their own? They are nowhere near Lagos. With a population of about 20 million, some people are even saying 23 million. Are we not grown? Are we not big enough to be a nation? Do we need any Oduduwa states? We have the seaports. Most of these states ain't got no seaports. So we are going to have to tread carefully. Me, I am for, let us look at Nigeria as a state. Let us be patriotic. Let us come to the table. Let us have true federalism. Let's reduce the power concentrated at the federal so that each state could benefit more. Let each state grow at its own pace. Grow at your own pace. Value for money. That would be my own thing. Well, the electorate needs to be educated. And we have the orientation agency there. The question is, what are they doing? I know it's the poverty, the strategy of the government, the parties that has been ruling Nigeria, they have the same strategy. And that is punish them, starve them, in 4 years, go to them and give them money, they will vote for you, and you retain your power. All this attitude, all these unspoken campaign slogans must stop and re-educate people. Stop this poverty-driven policy. Go and get your national identification number. Was that in their manifesto program during the campaign? Of course, the answer is no. Deception, deceit, and gross irresponsibility. Honestly speaking, personally again, I am tired of this carelessness and recklessness of this administration. If Nigeria was a football team in England today, and Buhari is the manager, with the performance we are seeing on a daily basis, he would have been fired as a manager of a Premiership league. But I hope Nigeria will rise up to the occasion one day, and then we start to get just and right-thinking leaders to run the affairs of the country. God bless you. Erelu, Amariba, and all the participants. Kudos, I doff my cap. And I hope this program will continue to go from strength to strength, especially during this month of Ramadan. May Almighty Allah continue to meet us at our point of need, answer our prayers, strengthen Nigeria. War is not our solution. Breakup may not be our solution. We need to rejiggle the system and make it work better and faster for all of us. Thank you. God bless.
So thank you very much indeed, Honorable Adeluola from Lagos. Please mute yourself so that I'm not being, because I'm getting the echoing back. You must be on a speaker. Now, I want to thank you very much for joining me today. I know you said you were going to be away, but thank you for agreeing to be here. You know, this program is about enabling people to state their case. You are very right. Nobody should assume that because all is not well with Nigeria, a solution can be just agreed, stock and barrel, as we say in England. You seem to be saying Lagos isn't going to just follow because some people believe that's the way forward. Now, your personal opinion, I don't know how many more are like that, but as I said, 2014, thereabouts, I recall somebody saying the same thing, that Lagos is not going to join any kind of setup in the future. Let me bring in Alagbola Shukwuju.
Yeah, thanks so much, Erelu, for yet another opportunity. Just a passing shot to say I'm very happy to listen to my brother from Lagos. Incidentally, I'm also in Lagos. I'm a Lagosian. Lagosian from Ilesha, Osun State. So we are all part of Lagos. And to say that, incidentally, what we are clamoring for is that let there be a referendum for all those in the Western region, the Yoruba land. Their worries, all of them, they are all Yorubas. Let them also indicate whether they want to go out of Nigeria to go to Yoruba nation or not. It's a game of numbers. Let us throw it to the people, the Yoruba. But we don't want Nigeria to supervise that referendum. We want the United Nations International Committee to come and actually conduct that referendum so that we know who falls where. So on that note, I have no problem with Lagos. And I assure my brother, even after we get into the Yoruba nation, we will still sit down together to agree on how we run our nation. God has blessed us with men and women and with wisdom to do it. And I think my own summary of what we have done today is just to look at an imaginary marriage. Because in actual fact, there was never a marriage. There was no consent. All the ingredients of marriage that has been identified on this platform today were absent. And they are still absent in Nigeria. It means there was never a marriage. Then what do we call it? It's like slavery. It's like a slavery system. It's like a conquered people now clamoring for freedom. And there is time for everything. If 20 years ago, people did not have that knowledge, that awareness, that doesn't mean that there was a marriage. Even if they were comfortable 20 years ago. But this is 2021, and the eyes have opened, and then awareness has increased, and people are now saying, oh, we have been fooled all along. Enough is enough. We are making out. So there's time for everything. And I urge my brother to please join us to ensure that we extricate this country, the Yoruba country, which has been in emergency since the 18th century. I mean, to come out of Nigeria so that we can realize our potential together. We can do it. Let's make it happen. Let's demonstrate it is possible. It is possible to achieve it peacefully. If we go the war way, all the creditors, we are talking about assets and liability, it can be shared equitably. If we sit down on a round table, it will be part of the items of the agenda to be discussed. How much are we going to pay to the creditors? We will agree, no problem. But if there is war, the creditors will get nothing. So it is in their interest to wake up now and assist Yoruba to go out peacefully so that we can be able to discuss how much we pay out of what we have gotten from the federal cake. Do they call it cake? I think it's a cake, so that we can also return that to them. But if there is war, they get nothing. So it is better they assist us. Thank you, Elu. God bless you.
Thank you very much indeed, because I know how hard it is for you, Alagba Olashuko Ojo, to take time out to join me all the way from United States, where you are already doing quite a lot to be able to advance solutions for Yoruba within the project Nigeria. I think I need to bring this to a close. And I want to thank those of you who are in the Zoom area who have joined me. I don't fill my Zoom area with people. I don't need that. I want quality people who want to listen to others and not impose themselves on others. Thank you very much. You've been brilliant. I want to again thank Liberty Media Communications, Alagba Frank Bello. Thank you very much for always being there. And those who have joined me on that platform, thank you very much. From Trinidad and Tobago, thank you very much for looking in. I know there's a group of you, although you are not switched on. Thank you for joining me. Interest from your end regarding the future of Nigeria is a shock to many who believe in Pan-Africanism to actually see us talking about breaking up a place that most of them sees as the final goal in the near future. But I always insist my program is like a court. I have no opinion. I will respond based on the evidence presented to me. So today, it seems as if there is a view that there is no marriage. I think if this were to happen in normal court, I'll be calling for expert witness to determine whether or not the nature of Nigeria one will refer to as a marriage. Now, there's also seems to be some kind of opinion delivered which suggests that it is a marriage of inconvenience. We looked at amalgamation, and when two people come together, that's synonymous to a marriage. I heard people say, you know, no consultation, nobody was consulted. Well, what about arranged marriages? I am also somebody who I can put my hand up and say I'm an expert in how Yoruba marriages are meant to be convened. One aspect of it is that Ifa takes the lead. And how that happens, that's not a matter for today. But I'm getting two aspects. One, there's no marriage. Yes, there is a marriage. But at the end of today, there's no doubt that it's very clear that there still needs to be a lot more, shall I say, interactions and communications between the different sectors of what will constitute Yoruba nation. That's very clear. Well, it's been wonderful having my guest speakers of honor share their thoughts from their own personal point of view, and to leave you out there, the jury, to make use of the contents of their contribution. Well, tomorrow is going to be another interesting day. Tomorrow, that is the 29th of April, when, in the presence of a member of the House of Representatives, who is also an Adele Oba, will come before this court to look at one question. Only elected representatives can effect the desired changes in Nigeria, true or false. We will be looking at House of Representatives, democracy, good governance, and the future of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Looking forward to welcoming somebody from the Federal House of Representatives. Do stay tuned and join me. It's scheduled for 5 p.m. for 5:30 Nigeria UK time. In the meanwhile, to all my guest speakers of honor, I want to say a gigantic thank you for your time, for the investment in terms of data, electricity, all taken for granted. To Torera in Nigeria, I say thank you and God bless you in abundance. To Alagbade Luola, who is returned to United Kingdom, I say kudos, thank you for joining me. To, of course, Baba Aye in France, I say merci beaucoup, monsieur. And of course, Princess Royale in London, thank you very much for joining me today. I think you have actually left a clear impression, and that impression will go a very long way in a lot of assumptions made about people who are likely to be members of an organization called Afenifere. Let me then not forget to thank, of course, Barrister Dapo Ogunrinde. Thank you for your contribution. Eshegoni Princess, I'm very proud of you, Jare. Now, thank you very much indeed. Thank you. I want to back you. So I have gone round and thanked everyone. Alagba Olashupojo, thank you very much indeed. Delighted you've been able to take time to join us. Well, one hand cannot clap, two hands can clap. So today has been a success because people like yourself decided to come and talk. I mustn't forget, somebody will be the oldest in this Zoom area, and that is Papa Pastor Moses Wolabi. Papa, thank you very much for joining us. So good to have you listening and then trying to feedback when you have a moment to do so. So Mo dúpẹ́ púpọ̀ lọ́wọ́ gbogbo ẹ̀yin tí ẹ wá àkókò láti darapọ̀ mọ́ àgbà kò ní tán nílẹ̀ Oòduà. Tó bá di lọ́la ní agbára Olódùmarè, ẹ darapọ̀ mọ́ wa lórí ètò yìí níbi tí Adélé Ọba tí ó jẹ́ aṣojú ní orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà yóò máa ṣàlàyé fún wa nípa bó ṣe yẹ kó rí. Until then, I want to say, Mr. Bello, good night. Princess, good night. Honorable Adeluola, same. And
Good night, ma. Thank you, ma.
Good night. See you tomorrow.
Good
All
night,
the
ma.
very best. Thank you.
Bye, ma.
Good night. Thank you.
Night, ma.
Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you.